Well, we have to do the discussions. We told you we'll have Sefi Champon, Member of Parliament from Priso, also with the Committee on Interior and Defense right in the studio, but he is yet to come in. But we do have Dr. Clementa Park. He is the Deputy ranking the Education Committee of Parliament, Member of Parliament for Busa South, and he's here. And I know he's got a lot to say about the things we're about to mention. So,
you've forgotten.
Yeah.
This thing should really
just be
blow away. The wind should go so we can go to Buluk. you need to be there.
Anyway, let's see how it goes. But we do know that what has occupied our minds over the last, I'll say 12 hours, has been that IPAC meeting and the subsequently the results based on the decisions and the announcement that have been made by the Electoral Commission. It looks like every party except the NDC is the one not in agreement. Very surprising, some will say, but it depends on which side of the argument you are, which will be unsurprising to you.
Well, Roland, first of all, let me say good morning to you and our viewers. Did you see that it is me? Very well. You know, when we are all wearing this
you don't get to know who is talking.
That I like to call. This one actually looks like a face diaper. It is difficult to recognize who is speaking. But it is for a good reason that we are doing this, and we must continue to encourage all of us and remind each other that we must follow the WHO protocols and to respect the directives that the president has given, which is also captured in the Imposition of Restrictions Act. But Roland, I think it is only fair that before I even delve into the matter that, as you said, has captured the attention of Ghanaians for the last 12 or so hours, I make a comment on a very unfortunate development.
Which one?
That occurred in my constituency, Busa South, very briefly. Just about a week ago, a young man from one of the communities known as Basa met his untimely demise at the hands of another young man in a fight, from what we hear and from what the police and others who were in the vicinity indicate in the market of Fumbisi. 2 days ago was market day. Thankfully, nothing happened. But we want to continue to call for calm as the Member of Parliament. I've been in touch with the chief of Fumbisi, the chief of VAC, the sub-chief of Basa, the assemblyman, the chief executive, the district police commander, and indeed the regional police commander on the occurrence and the way forward. And of course, naturally, when these things happen, there is bound to be anger and anxiety and, you know, the urge to try and, if you like, mete out a similar punishment to the perpetrator. In this case, the perpetrators are at large, and so, as you would expect a leader to do, I'm calling for calm, calling on the bereaved family and community to be rest assured that law enforcement, and I have been in constant touch with law enforcement.
Well, the problem is that they are aggrieved.
You say?
They are aggrieved.
Yes, of course.
Now, do they have confidence that the police will follow through the investigation?
Well, I think that was part of the initial, if you like, doubt. You know, there was no confidence that this thing could be addressed. But I think there's been reassurance because, you know, since this thing happened, the attitude, the conduct, the behavior of the police indicates to me, and I've conveyed that to the community and the sub-chief, that they will do a good job. But it's my responsibility to follow up and make sure that no stone is left unturned to bring the perpetrators to book. So far, you know, the youth and other aggrieved parties seem to be listening to us. So the onus now lies on the police to do what is required to ensure that the perpetrators are arrested and then brought to book.
To calm heads.
I think if that happens, you know,
but the police will do that. That's their role.
The community has indicated to me that that is what they are waiting for. Although the young man who was gruesomely murdered, his head was almost cut off right through his throat. Very gruesome. I don't even want to describe it because we all know one day we would go.
You just done that.
We would go.
His head was cut off.
Well,
almost cut off.
Yes, but I have not even given you the graphic details, so I will spare viewers that. So, calm. The law enforcement must do its best. The regional police is supporting. If the national police has to support to ensure that we track the perpetrators down and bring them to book, that would be the best. Having said that, to yesterday's IPAC meeting, Roland.
Let me take the report from Kwesi Parker-Wilson, and then we'll come back and have a comprehensive discussion. But Seth Kwabi-Champo, Member of Parliament from Pryso and member of the MPP as well, is joining us soon. But this report.
Presence at the premises of the Electoral Commission during the Inter-Party Advisory Committee meeting today. Over 60 armed policemen were stationed at all entry and exit points. The meeting was to update political parties on preparations towards the compilation of a new electoral roll. At the meeting, the EC disclosed scheduled mass registration exercise will take place from late next month. Here's Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Shobo Kweku.
We are going to start the registration last week of June and finish by the last week of ending of July. Let's start from, let's say, 23rd to 30th of June. We will have started. We are using the clustering system, so the polling stations will be grouped into groups of 5, and each 5 will be a cluster.
He also explained that there were measures put in place to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 during the registration process.
I want to put on record that we have been holding meetings with the national COVID team. The top, Dr. Nsiansari, Professor Adujemfi, and Dr. Boatimba, they are the top three. So we have been meeting them. We have been discussing their protocols, and I think they are clear with what is said. So what we are doing is that for every registration center, there will be thermometer gun. So once you get there, your temperature is taken. There will be mobile health team. So if your temperature is above the maximum, then they will come and take you and maybe help you to.
So health officials will be at the registration.
Exactly. But I said it's a mobile team. So we just call them that we have a suspected case here. They'll come and pick you and handle that. So if you are clear by the temperature, then you go to the center, you do use the Veronica bucket to wash your hands. Once you finish washing your hands, then you move to the demarcated areas.
The largest opposition party, NDC, boycotted today's meeting. However, the governing NPP attended the meeting. General Secretary of the party, John Boedu, who represented the party, welcomed the EC's decision to compile a new register.
It is not, as for the NDC, they are only making noise. Maybe they are aware of this, and because of that, they want to just make some kind of noise in order to stop the NIA from doing mass registration. Within this period in question, it is important to note that a lot more people who are qualified to be enrolled on the NIA roll have not yet been done. Those who have been done have not yet been issued their cards. Within the period, NIA, if considering our situation, should be able to issue their cards to them and also go ahead to do mass registration, not mop-up.
Well, this best describes it. Dr. Clement Park, what else? You just have to make sure that you go whip up the sentiment and the education, complement the efforts of the NCC and the Electoral Commission, and get your people to get to register. Very simple as that.
First of all, Roland, let's look at the genesis of this whole debate. And you are a very smart, intelligent man. You have followed the chronology and the debate. You know our position with regards to the new voters register. And indeed, it is important to state that it is not the NDC or even just similar-minded political parties which have risen in opposition to the decision by the Electoral Commission to compile a new voters register. As we speak now, in excess of 20 civil society organizations are in sync and agree on the common position that Ghana does not need a newly compiled voters register for several reasons. Barring the temptation to hint on a few, I think it is only proper and fair that I touch base and perhaps remind listeners and viewers of some of the reasons. One is that the current voters register that and all the accoutrements, the whole system that the Electoral Commission today claims is contaminated, it is bloated, it is obsolete, is the same voters register and system that was used in the 2012 presidential and parliamentary elections. It is the register that was used by the people of Bulsa South to elect me, Clement Abasina Bapak, from Doninga, to be their representative. It's the same voters register that was used to elect Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to become the first gentleman, the president of this country.
What's your point with that?
This was 2016.
But we've passed that. Before then, there was an existing voters register which was also used to elect somebody else.
Fast forward. Just last year, a series of elections were held. Indeed, we went to the polls to vote in a referendum for the creation of 6 new regions using the same voters register. Limited registration was done to augment the existing voters register that is now being claimed to be obsolete, contaminated, and bloated. And after that, we went on to have the district assembly elections to elect assembly and unit committee members. If not because the current president and his government knew fully well that the referendum question to do with allowing persons who want to be DCs to contest on partisan lines, if not because government and the president knew that that was going to fail.
How do you know? That didn't take place.
It was withdrawn at the last minute. In fact, at the taxpayers.
But the president was very concise that it was because there was no consensus.
Consensus?
But is that not true?
So this voters register that is to be compiled, is there a consensus? There's no consensus
but the president is not the Electoral Commission.
The
Electoral Commission.
But the president had the right to withdraw that exercise.
Yes, because that is in the purview of the president.
Where in the Constitution does it say?
Well, he sponsored it. Did he not?
But it then became public property, and it was being handled by the institution that is required to undertake that. But be as it may, that is tangential. The point is that that would have happened if the chips were anticipated to fall at the direction where the president wanted. I guarantee you that would have happened. Now, in all of this, then the Electoral Commission continues the advocacy and invokes its powers as granted it by the Constitution, that it is independent. And yes, the Constitution is very clear. But what people forget, I should have brought my Constitution, but we can open it up. If you look at the section of the Constitution that talks about the right to vote, the first article under that section has to do with the individual, the citizen, and his right to vote. And the right to vote is a fundamental right.
It's not being curtailed in any way.
The Electoral Commission.
What's the point of your submission?
The Electoral Commission is in existence because the citizen has a right to vote. And therefore, the Electoral Commission was created by the framers of the Constitution to be the tool, the avenue, the conduit to prepare and put in place the necessary mechanisms for the citizen
with rights and responsibilities clearly stated out in the Constitution as to how it undertakes that role.
Exercise your right. The Electoral Commission, even in that context, if you go down the series of articles under that, it is supposed to be instituting plans, programs, and activities that would allow for as many citizens to have the right to vote. Now, we are saying that there is no need for a new register because the old one is wholesome. And we say so because it has been used only last year. And indeed, the EC chair herself and EC officials applauded the outcome of the referendum and the district assembly elections. The cost component is one that we have raised severally. The issues to do with the technical aspects we have raised and shown, and civil society, independent entities, think tank representatives, the likes of Kofi Bentil and the rest of them have all demonstrated practically how a new register is going to be more expensive than refurbishing, upgrading, and maintaining the current register.
But we're going ahead.
All of this, Electoral Commission has demonstrated adamance. And then they continue with what we believe is a grandiose game plan to try and suppress votes from our strongholds.
By what means?
The Electoral Commission then comes to Parliament.
By what means do they intend to suppress votes from the strongholds of the NDC?
To lay a CI. And rather than being expansive, which is what is required, because the Electoral Commission should be looking at what it needs to be done, it needs to do to ensure that more Ghanaians can vote. The Electoral Commission decides that there will be only 3 primary sources of identification. Ghana card, which is being issued by the NIA, passports, and then verification by one person who has registered. You and I know that in Ghana, not more than 3 million people have passports. Where I come from, I can tell you on authority. Very few people, I believe if we were to go and conduct a survey, the people who have passports in Busasak will not be more than 200. Ghana card, where I come from, and many parts of the Upper East and Upper West region, not only are the people not registered, but the few who have registered till date have not received their Ghana card. And that is a problem across the country.
But there's guarantee.
We all know
there's guarantee.
You must be registered before you can guarantee. So the chicken and the egg scenario, which is it?
Is it not possible that one person can guarantee for more people?
There are polling stations where persons there have no Ghana card and have no passport. So who guarantees for people?
Which polling stations are those?
Where I come from?
Can you tell me? No, you have a large constituency. So where? Which polling stations are you talking about? In your constituency, for example.
I can tell you about Doninga Central, Market Square.
You've gone through the electoral roll, and you've seen that
the electoral roll.
You've seen that would-be voters on the register, which is about to be changed, don't have a passport or an NHIA card.
We are challenging the NHIA to publicize, because a lot of people are said to be disenfranchised. And if you look at the dynamics of how the NIA has conducted itself, the number of days allotted to different regions, the number of equipment that was used, the number of persons who have said to have been registered, the number of cards that have been issued, clearly. And yet this is the institution that the Electoral Commission believes has done such magnificent, sufficient, impeccable work to preempt the institution by offering to use that card as a primary document for the registration.
Dr. Clement Apak, this argument you make, it's being rebuffed and debunked by the National Identification Authority. And indeed, I paraphrase Professor Ken Atefa, and he says that it is not true that the Electoral Commission is in collusion with the National Identification Authority in any way to disenfranchise any voter.
Well, what
and that they have in excess of several hundreds of thousands of uncollected cards, and these will be distributed before the Electoral Commission decides to start any exercise. And the exercise is starting in the latter part of June.
Look.
What's the worry?
Look, the worry is that we know there's a collusion. I mean,
you can't produce evidence. That's speculative.
That is what everyone says. When the president said that the ex-Wild Mama government, of which I was a member, had procured presidential diaries to the tune of $10 million, was he able to provide evidence? Even today, he's in government. I have challenged him to provide the evidence. Or tell us, you and me, how much his government under his reign have been spending on the production of presidential diaries. Have they been able to do that? And that was a blatant lie. In this case, the circumstantial evidence is there. When you were playing the voice of
Dr. Serebo Kwaku,
he talked about
the Director of Electoral Services, Electoral
discussions, and we know that the EC, NIA, persons from the presidency, persons from the MPP, they have been meeting.
Why? What was the last meeting point?
They have been meeting.
This speculative.
You know that there's a re-election cabinet subcommittee in the Flagstaff House. Look, as our General Secretary said yesterday, post the IPAC decision, we are going to contest the IPAC decision. It now is the beginning of the disagreement.
What will be done?
Of course, you know that the NDC, we are already in court. The Electoral Commission has decided to violate even the president's directive of not having a congregation of people in excess of 25. And they claim that the president's directive does not include them. In fact, just so you know, these are some of the reasons why we have not attended IPAC meetings, and the fact that the letters that they have sent to us have tended to have different times. How do you get a letter inviting you for a meeting at 10 p.m.? I mean, this is what happened, and we will demonstrate all of this. There is going to be a formal response to what is going on. But one thing is for sure, we have a responsibility of standing up and fighting on behalf of Ghanaians. And that is exactly what we are going to do.
You mean standing up and fighting on behalf of NDC supporters?
You know, if you must know, just a few days ago, Ghana Web conducted a poll. In excess of 140,000 Ghanaians indicated that the new register.
How many voters do we have in Ghana?
Was not necessary. All the polls that you have always been told about, what was the number?
The sample size,
yeah, the sample size. We are talking about over 140,000 versus 19,000 who were interested in the voters register. So it is also our responsibility to let the people know and to let them understand why this decision by the Electoral Commission is going to disenfranchise them. We will contest this position, we will contest this decision, and we will make sure that the good people of Ghana are given equal opportunities to exercise their franchise. Every single avenue available to us will be activated.
Oh, that will be done. But I have the Member of Parliament for Imprieso here, Sethi Champong, also with the Interior and Defense Committee of Parliament. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
And your reaction when you first heard the news, and also subsequently what Dr. Clement Apak has been saying in response.
First and foremost, let me greet Clement and ask him to calm down, because this is Ghana. It is so beautiful and so welcoming for all of us. Roland, your good selves, we've started off not today. And I want to remind all ourselves that Ghana will survive, Ghana will sustain. I welcome with my political party, the New Patriotic Party, the decision by the Electoral Commission to decide, who have decided to do a new register, and we welcome that news. It is good news for democracy, it is positive news for Ghana. This Ghana we are holding today, in 1992, we decided to run this country by a constitution. The constitution has created institutions where myself and Clement are currently today working for and on behalf of the states. Another arm of that same constitution created the judiciary. The judiciary has made a decision. One of the decisions is that the NHIS card that we use in the registration in the court's decision is not credible, and so it has been discredited. Beyond that, I wonder how, as a people, sometimes we ourselves, whether we go back to listen to ourselves and look at what the things we do. NHIS today, people are standing up and clamoring for NHIS. When
those same holders of NHIS cards who subsequently use it to register or get their names on the register and obtain the voter's ID card, they were part of the voters of the numbers of electorate who voted the president into power.
You've even missed the conversation for me. That is not the point that we're discussing.
But you
As
just
we
mentioned
sit,
an issue.
I'm coming, yes.
Why
did I start that? I started that conversation because there's a new constitutional instrument before Parliament.
I do understand all
yes,
that.
And that has excluded the NHIS as an identity card. And
but
that is the fact.
yet.
I haven't said it is fully matured, but it is in the process. Beautiful democracy. My point is, there is no register that is permanent. This year, today, people are having their date of births added on, so people are maturing. And so there's that creation that when we arrive at that age, you are added on. Today,
so you do a limited registration.
God will call some of us, so we'll go. That is another measure of the life of a register. The register, in 2012, we as a country decided to add another feature to that existing register, and we did what we call a biometric thumb recognition. After the polls in 2012, there was a dispute. Out of the dispute, it was agreed and it was known, clear, crystal, that our register was overly bloated. The next point is we should clean the register. We've not been able to clean the register. The Electoral Commission herself sits back today and tells us that it thinks that going forward in a digitized age, we should add another feature, which is called a facial recognition, but for COVID. So my mouth and my faces are all covered. But when Electoral Commission is going to take my new data, they would ask me to unmask, and then they'll take my proper data. And this is another feature in the digitized age. And this is to help us fight dispute in the future. So these are measures that are being taken to deepen our democracy. It is not for any reason that we are adopting technology to assist us grow as a democratic state. In 2012, when we stood up and we said that it was impossible, the Electoral Commission said they understand their workings. They were able to do it. Who am I today to go and tell them that they can't do it? And when I have witnessed it, I was in the same legislature when the same CI 91 was laid that gave birth to that register, which we used. Today, they have gone through their systems, they have realized their challenges, they think that this is the path they have to pursue. I agree with them. And I think we should support them to go ahead. This country must move on. We've moved on. In 1992, there was a major dispute. There was a boycott after the elections in 92 to start a new life of parliament. One political party decided to boycott. There was a boycott. Boycott is not new to us in this country. Our friends in opposition have boycotted several things, but they still live. They are disputing the NIA. Even for us to start registering people under that creation, they said they will not. They boycotted it. Today they are being registered. They are participating. It's work in progress. That is democracy. I have my opinion. Clement has his opinion. Then we disagree. Then we agree. Then we move on. There's no other way That is the only way forward we have to go. And I 100% support the Electoral Commission on what it is doing. It should just stand on its grounds and move on. I support them. I'm not going to say I don't support them because I've been in this enterprise for a while and I think I'm old enough to decide which path I expect the Electoral Commission to go. And I think that is the way to go, and I support them.
The path of the Electoral Commission?
I support them.
Roland.
Yes, sir.
A quick one. Just for the sake of analysis and this conversation, when the Electoral Commission earlier on announced its program of activities,
the roadmap.
Yes, we were supposed to have had the final registers by June. I mean by November.
COVID came.
Yeah, and this is if it had happened in April. Now we are in June. For the sake of argument, how does the Electoral Commission expect to be able to do this so that by September, he and I, who are contesting again for re-election, will be registered?
Or in
our
we're in a situation of force majeure.
Will be filed. You see, the Electoral Commission and its allies, including the MPP and the NIA, they are pushing Ghana to the brink.
What brink?
Of confusion and anarchy.
By who is going to confuse who?
Because when citizens are not convinced that the entities created by the Constitution are serving their interests, that can cause anxiety and chaos.
But as far as the communication, Dr. Clement, isn't not the NDC that's raising the issues apart from civil society organizations?
Yes, so that should tell you, because civil society, the definition, civil society, these are non-political actors. So the fact that non-political actors, CDD, Imani, you name them, are all saying that under the current conditions, the circumstances, there is no ample justification, cost element, and COVID, we can make do with the previous register. And nobody has been, not even the Electoral Commission, has convinced all those, if you like, CSOs or the over 140,000 Ghanaians who are on record to have said that they don't see a need for the new register. And IPAC, you talk about IPAC. We have a situation where this Jean Mensah-led Electoral Commission makes decisions and then imposes those decisions on IPAC. IPAC is supposed to be advisory. And so when you go to meetings and you proffer advice and it is not taken, you are just to go to meetings and be told what has been decided and what to do. How can you call that advisory? But you see, he spoke about the CI. And we should not underrate the fact that the Electoral Commission seems to have faith in a process that has not even been concluded and has not been proven to be stellar than one that itself has generated and created over the years. Why would the Electoral Commission prioritize Ghana cars over the cars that same Electoral Commission has issued, which have been used for a series of elections, including the most recent District Assembly and Unit Committee elections? And these are the issues that we need to interrogate. And I am sad that the eminent, I think eminent persons, was it eminent advisory committee, has been silent on this matter. Because when the Electoral Commission appeared before this committee to do a presentation, we have seen the graphics, we have seen the PowerPoint presentation.
What do you want the committee to do?
It was said that the voter's ID card would be part of.
What do you want the committee to do?
The committee needs to speak up and to stand up for Ghana. Because the committee must weigh the interests of the few against the interests of the majority. And that committee of eminent persons needs to speak. If for nothing at all, they must get the Electoral Commission to explain why they were told that even if this process was to go forward, as we oppose it, that the voter's ID card was going to be part of primary documents. And today, the CI that has been presented in Parliament excludes that voters register.
You made a comment. If this process is to go through, the process is going through indeed.
Well, we are opposed to it.
Sure. Indeed, the Electoral Commission has come out clearly that the last week of June, the process will start. Even before then, there's going to be a pilot this week, or transitioning into the beginning of next week. So that is not in doubt at all. Now, what will the NDC do when the process starts and you know that you're opposed to it?
Well, there are a series of issues that we are dealing with. As you know, I told you earlier, we are in court. Formally, we are in court, challenging the basis, the justification, and in fact, the ingredients that the Electoral Commission is presenting as prerequisites for one to get on the new electoral roll. We are challenging the whole gamut. Now, our General Secretary has indicated very clearly that we also are going to engage in a vigorous public education to let the people of Ghana, the people who own this country, understand the trajectory and the dangers that portends should the Electoral Commission maintain its adamance in listening to what many would describe as commonsensical reasoning at such a time.
Fine, and if you do that, what will happen?
Well,
will you tell your sympathizers, supporters, and members not to go register?
There would be a formal engagement with the media where the party will present its position on the basis of recent developments coming out of yesterday's questionable IPAC meeting.
I do understand. Will you tell your sympathizers, your supporters, members not to go register if this still goes ahead? And it will go ahead.
Leadership will make that known. We will make a decision and we will communicate it. But whatever it is, our position remains that the new register is needless. It is not justified. And that the processes by which the Electoral Commission intends to compile a new register would disenfranchise many millions of Ghanaians.
Let me ask you this question again. When we begin the process of registration of voters, will the NDC decide to be part of the process of registration?
Well, I'm not the leader of the party. I am not the national chairman. I am not the national secretary. So leadership definitely would come forward with the cause of action. And as a dedicated, loyal, and known party member, I must wait for my leadership. As you said earlier on, we are talking about something that occurred within the last 12 hours. It's not even 24 hours yet. So what my leadership says is what I
You can't say whether you boycott or not.
I don't make that decision because I am not functioning here and I'm not in your studio as Dr. Park, the lecturer. I am in your studio as Dr. Park, an NDC MP, and we have formal structures.
What will you tell your constituents if somebody should call you by close of day? Dr. Clement Park, should I participate or not?
Because the process has not started. The Electoral Commission says by the end of June. By that time, I would have known what to tell my constituents.
There's an important case in court that also has a bearing on, in terms of the outcome, on an inclusion or exclusion of a vital document, which many, if not majority of voters hold, other than the two others, and guarantorship, that are the criteria for making entry into a new register.
Why should that be a problem in this country? Roland, how don't you know me as a Ghanaian? Don't you know me as a Ghanaian?
Me knowing you is not a guarantee that you will have your name in the register. That's the point.
Beautiful. Knowing me, you know my age. Is my age within the bracket so prescribed by the Electoral Commission?
Are you saying that can then go guarantee for you?
I'm asking simple questions about you. If you're asking me to demonstrate identity, I know Clement. He's a typical Ghanaian coming from Ghana. Why should I dispute Clement when it's going to be registered?
Yes, but for this very exercise,
right,
for me to be able to guarantee for you and ascertain that because I know you, I know your age, you're a Ghanaian, you live in here in specific areas, I should be a holder of a passport or an NIA card.
Yes.
And I may not have any.
Yes, we are using the taxpayers' money to register Ghanaians through NIA. It is not anybody's money, and it is the property of Ghana, and we think it's a very useful property. We've had disputes upon disputes, not necessarily over a conversation like this that we're having. Technical ones, it has gone to court. There's been issues. That's the essence of us ensuring that we invest in NIA so that we have a simple common identity for every Ghanaian. And then the features NIA is capturing is a bit laborious. And it's not so easy for anybody to just break in and destroy. So I think it was well thought through. We should respect the systems we are developing. That is the only way this country can mature. That is the only way we can deepen the dispensation we're in, the democracy. And so I would always encourage all of us that when people are allowed in constitutionally created rooms to live in, and we use our sweat to pay them, and they are doing the right thing, let's support them to move on.
In your constituency?
Let me move on to the issues raised by Clement. What is wrong? The fact that there's a dispute, or I think otherwise, does not mean the state will grant you a halt. We were in court in 2013. President Mahama was working. He was in the Flagstaff House. He was working. The country did not come to a halt. The country went on.
Now that was post-elections.
Exactly. I was in Parliament in 2012. I fought that exercise which we were going to go on because there were certain things I did not believe in. We raised our issues with the EC then. We did not boycott IPAC. And mind you, IPAC is advisory. The mandate on the EC by the Constitution is the responsibility. When we took the matters to court, was it IPAC who went to defend the EC or EC went to defend herself? They are accountable for their own stewardship. So every decision they are taking, they know what they're doing. And I'll not sit here and conjecture and contemplate the outcome of the matter before the law courts, because I am barred from doing so, because I live and work in the legislature, and I'm not supposed to dabble in the work of the judiciary. And so we will sit quietly and wait and listen to the counsel and wisdom from them. That does not mean we should go around beating gongons that there will be mayhem in Ghana. Nothing will happen in this country. Trust me. I said, look, it's because of the mask, you can't read my lips. Nothing will happen in this country. We've all lived it. We've all lived it. And I must admit that nothing will happen in this country. Let us not put fear in people. It won't happen. Not in his backyard in Chuchuruga or China, that I know.
No.
Or Fumbisi. None.
Well, you look like
No, Chuchuruga is a Gaga's place. No, but say Bulta area.
You put your mouth.
Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so sorry.
No, his constituents must see his face.
No, but at the end of the day, there are fundamental issues that are being raised.
To deal with.
And these fundamental issues are, even before the court makes a decision, I would want to ask you, and you do interact and communicate with your constituents, would you say, I mean truthfully, that majority, if not all, or majority, have at least the passports or the NHIA card, or intend to get handed their NHIA card?
Based on the information available, I know that the people who have been registered in my constituency by NIA, until my colleagues had in mind that the new NIA's card is going to be used in this exercise, started raising red flags under COVID, because we are not in normal times, for NIA to shut down so they cannot complete the exercise in good time. Yes, because they want to use it as part of their contention. And so they are battling NIA not to complete her exercise so everybody can have a Ghana card. But for that, everybody should have had the Ghana card by now. And I'm sure they are going back. They are going back to it.
You had nothing to do with
Clement, you allow me. I know I even arrived here late. So you had a field day. So let me.
I asked the question.
Very well.
Can you sincerely tell us that you have majority, Roland, if not a sizable number of your constituents?
You're repeating. You've used two words. You said truthfully, sincerely. Do I sound doubtful before you? No. Do I sound doubtful before you?
It's not for me to answer.
No, because you're asking. And so, I know you're asking on behalf of the good people of this country. And I'm also speaking for the good people of this country. Yes, the NIA is ready. It is working day and night to ensure that nobody is disenfranchised. And this is the assurance I'll give to my people. I don't need to lie to anybody. Mind you, I've taken an oath to work for this republic and for my people. And we should always do it responsibly. The second schedule of our constitution provides those oaths for all of us public officers. So Roland, this is where we are. But I want to say this. I will encourage my brothers in NDC that these boycotts in a democracy, it shortchanges them. I want to give a free advice to them. I've seen too many boycotts in my life, and those who have boycotted have always been on the losing side. We boycotted as members of parliament the inauguration of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama because we went to court. At the end of the day, the court ruled against us. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama served. He was sworn into office. Though we had a dispute, we did not, at the time, by our thinking, agree with him. But at the end of the day, the Constitution, the Republic's laws, upheld the decision of the Electoral Commission. Our boycott yielded nothing. I'm just encouraging them as a kind citizen of the Republic and as a person in this body politic that it won't take them anywhere. This is just a very brotherly counsel. If they take it, it will yield miles and go miles for them. But if they don't, we are ready for EC. When EC says kick, we are kicking. I'm just waiting. I know they are waiting. I know they are very strategic. NDC is already preparing her team down behind to start the registration. I don't need to be told. I'm too old in this business of ours now, Roland, to appreciate whatever steps NDC take. They will be the first at the polling station when the polls are opened. So let's wait and see what happens in this country.
Right, so, yeah, you wanted to make a point?
Yeah,
I wanted us to move on to...
Yeah, just a quick point. You know, I was just looking at some of the modalities that the Electoral Commission says is going to put in place to allow for this thing to happen in spite of COVID-19. And they talk about social distancing and all of that. But how do you talk about that knowing fully well? And I'm glad he's on the committee that he's on. And he understands the content of the, Restrictions Act. It does not exclude any entity. The only time where 25 people can gather, or where people can actually gather.
Well, Dr. Srebo. Dr. Srebo, who is Director for Electoral Services.
Barry else.
You've heard him.
So
he says that they've been in contact with the National COVID team, and the health advisory indicates that this
I have no doubt. They've not only just been meeting the health experts, they've been meeting party officials, people from the presidency, as I said earlier, and they are meeting NHIA. We know that those meetings have been going on. But the law does not exclude the Electoral Commission. There is nowhere in that law that allows for the Electoral Commission to be exempted.
Why don't you go challenge it in court?
From the 25. But even so, the other point I wanted to make very quickly.
Why don't you go challenge it in court?
Subo and co are saying that they are going to use clusters. 5 polling stations will be clustered. Is it not the case that we are supposed to allow for spaciousness and to make sure that we don't have a system where more people will be congregated at one location? So how is the cluster going to benefit?
But even here we're congregated, but the space.
The decision.
Even here we're congregated, but we
are not in queue to register. We are having a discourse on important national matters. We are not in queue to register. So that in itself tells you that there are challenges that lie ahead. And make no mistake, you have seen in other parts of the world where, as part of the effort to try and ameliorate the economic impact of the virus, very quick decisions have been taken, and that has led to an increase in case counts. And so the health experts, we hope they are giving health advice and they are not giving political advice, because the two are not the same. Clusters, even before COVID, when we were compiling the last register, did we do clusters? So why is the Electoral Commission introducing?
I need to take a bite. No, I need to take a bite.
Wait. But let me ask my next question. And it's about you MPs and related issues about tests that have been conducted for the pandemic.
No, but I need to respond to this.
Fine. But let me ask the question, and then you take a minute or so. Now, there's a related concern about how you political leaders in Parliament don't want your status to be published, and if that publication is undertaken, it's an affront to you in the first place and untold.
Thank you.
But just take a minute and
thank you very much. In 2012, we registered in clusters. Maybe Clement should go back to his notes. In 2012, when we're doing the biometric thumb registration, we registered in clusters. It's the same principle that EC is bringing to us. I listened clearly to what the EC was saying yesterday, post the IAPAC meeting and giving us briefings. Exactly what we did in 2012.
According to the NDC,
same
you didn't listen well.
Did we do clusters?
We did clusters. We did clusters. You just go back into history and find out. We did clusters. We did clusters. We didn't have it. You see the stations, the electronic systems we're going to use. You can't duplicate it for all police stations. We don't have a lot, and we don't manufacture them. So cost-wise, and in doing cost-benefit analysis and ensuring that there's prudent and judicious use of funds of the state, that is how they do it. That's why they are doing it in clusters. So they move. That's the principle. But let me move on to say this.
6 days.
Let me. You see, Clement. This is the essence why you don't have to boycott. So that when you feature in IPAC, and you see, I worry when my colleagues say that somebody give you a time for 10 p.m. and they are standing and sitting on that. That's bad faith. EC is not any place you have to go look for visa to travel to. If our colleagues mean well, it is not for mischief. Forgive my language. They would easily write back to EC and tell them, or just cross-check. Are you sure when was the last time we had an IPAC meeting at 10 p.m.? This is for just open administrative exercise for us to do. It doesn't hold water at all. But let me move on to the question you asked. Roland, it is not for us political leaders to decide on what we choose or what we want. There are protocols in life. It is not for nothing. This is not the first time I'm going through a medical exercise in Parliament. In 2009, when I entered Parliament, we were offered opportunity to do our medics. So we went through a health bill check at the Cardiothoracic Center in Kolebu. Everybody's profile was kept in a dossier. That is a private relationship between you and your medical consultant. And so we need to respect those protocols. And when we have completed that, there's something we call primus inter pares. At least I've been in Parliament longer than Clement. But when we are elected as MPs, but for certain reasons, some of us are chosen to lead us. And when you're a leader, there's what you call ultimate responsibility. You take decisions on behalf of people. You need to consult. If consultation is not fully exhausted, then we have our own ways to move on. But I don't want us to play issues of people's privacy with politics. Besides everything we are doing as public servants, when something happens, is it everything in Joy, multimedia that happens that you people publicize? Is it everything that occurs in multimedia that you publicize? It is not. We need to respect privacy. It is part of principles of life. And so let us all appreciate it. I'm not for a second saying that if, God forbid, I know I'm not COVID-19 positive.
And even if you are.
Even if I am, people catch cold. Don't they move on in life? What is wrong and what is bad about that? So what was all this related
conversation about privacy then?
No, no.
Let me take this instead.
No,
I'll be back with
no,
you. Relax.
No.
Let me take this instead. I'll be back.
It started with a rumor that 2 members of parliament have tested positive for COVID-19. Then the statement from the Director of Public Affairs of Parliament, Kate Addo.
I want to tell all of us that the tests were done and the results were going to be or are going to be confidential. The protocol is that if you are testing, if you test positive, you will receive a call, a phone call from the National Response Team, and the team will inform you of your status, and then you follow the necessary arrangements for quarantining, and then for access to medication. We haven't received any information that any member of Parliament or any staff has got any such call. As we sit now, This is very uncomfortable for us, and it has created a lot of panic among us because we all know what one person being infected with the disease in an environment like this means.
The majority leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, also stated that Parliament is unaware of any staff testing positive for COVID-19.
Nobody knows whether anybody has tested positive. The people who would know would be perhaps those of them who did the test. So just to emphasize the point that what that medium has done really amounts to nothing but speculation. They are only speculating that 2 members have tested positive. We would want to let you know that there's no truth in that.
But the minority chief with Muntaka Mubarak insists 2 MPs and 13 staff have tested positive for COVID-19.
What happened in Parliament and what you've heard that was being said is the fact. But when you go out and you know that what happened is a fact, and you I don't know what the intention was, and you lie to the people that pay us, you are doing 3 things. You are endangering the life of the rest of the MPs. You are endangering the life of the rest of the staff. You are endangering the life of the general Ghanaian population. When they have tested Wednesday and Thursday, and on Wednesday, 1 MP and 1 staff tested positive. And on Thursday, 1 MP and 12 staff tested positive.
Muntaka Mubarak explained the infected MPs and staff have so far been isolated while contact tracing has commenced.
They have to isolate these persons.
Has that been done?
Yes. So far as I'm concerned, yes, that has been done. And they are now continuing with the contact tracing.
Parliament is yet to issue a response to the claims by the minority. But the critical question is, does the public have the right to know the status of their MPs?